I'm just helping Ben here find the Google Classroom link.
So that means Ben hasn't done any of the quizzes yet.
I said,
Okay, but it's like week to week. Half the time I cannot
do them
remember.
this week.
I said Ben. Please.
Okay. Yeah, I'm throwing an error right now, Ben, when I get in there, but it's in there somewhere. Look, and if you can't find it, just let me know and I'll try to.
Because like I tried.
Oh, now it's letting me switch the account. It wouldn't let me do that. It's getting a
Ben,
phone.
I thought you were a methodical professional pastor. I thought you would have been on top of this stuff.
It depends on the, once I learn how to do something one way, I only do it that way.
Yeah.
And last semester, I was finding it by scrolling to the top of the chat and all those links were there. And then
Okay,
now
so I'm
that
putting
that
this
is too old, so the link isn't there. So I had found it a couple times in here.
Google Classroom. I just put the link in there for later. So.
Okay.
So Tommy, praise, glad you're back with us, and hopefully you'll weather through some jet lag from the trip. And we're gonna get started. We're gonna go a little bit. It looks like one more who's joining.
Okay, it's,
Oh, now it's you joining. Okay,
yeah,
all
I
right,
asked to join and then I exited.
all right. Did you get in? I don't see you yet.
It's loading.
Okay, I admitted you, so hopefully
Yeah.
we can see you. All right. And then you can turn your sound off there.
Liquid verbs.
There we go.
Okay. Can everybody see the screen there? All right. So let me lift up a word and then we'll get started. Father, we give thanks to you again. It's always a privilege and a joy to study your word and to be equipped. We thank you, Father, that when we were far away, far off strangers and aliens, you drew us close through Jesus Christ, your Son. And Father, not only did you place us in Christ, but you also have used us to serve and to glorify Christ. And we have this privilege and this dignity that you would gift us and allow us to be used by you. So I pray, Father, that you would help us to take this stewardship seriously. And I pray it would help us to have more joy in Jesus as we come to understand more about the glories of Christ through your word. And to the extent that we have that privilege and that opportunity also to be able to equip others and to teach others and to help them to come to the fullness of the measure of Christ in all of his perfections and glory, and as much as it's possible this side of the cross and fixed between the cross and eternity. God, I pray that you would help us to be faithful stewards for you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's see. I keep hearing some dings. Somebody else trying to get back in here. Admit one guest. One confirmed you. Oh, it's Praise. I thought you were both Tommy and Praise on the same machine, but
We're in the same room.
apparently not. Hi there, Praise. How are you?
Good.
Okay. I hope you get some rest here and are able to kind of catch up here quickly. So I was starting to say I'll try to move a little expeditiously tonight through the chapter, and you want to encourage you if there's questions too. The Slack channel is still open, so that don't be afraid to drop a note anytime during the week there as well. Okay, so first we're going to just do a tiny bit of review from chapter 12 and chapter 11. So chapter 11 and chapter 12, we've been talking about the aorist. There's two types of aorist in Greek: the first aorist and the second aorist. They're not different in meaning, but they are different in their formation. Last week, we looked at the second aorist, which is a sort of irregular past tense formation. So sort of like the English go versus went. That would be the irregular. and that is distinguished from something, say, walk versus walked, which would be more of a regular formation of the past tense in English. And we saw that there are stem changes, but they oftentimes can be guessed, or if not guessed, they have some sort of resemblance to the present tense stem. And what we saw with the second aorist is that we don't have the sigma alpha like the first aorist. So we won't walk through that paradigm. I don't think I put a slide in here right now, but if it's not, then I'll have you walk through it after the class too. But we do want to remember that the aorist, the second aorist, is important. It's although it represents only a minority of the verbs in Greek, because some of the really key verbs have a second aorist in the New Testament, it becomes important because you see them again and again. Okay, so I did actually put a few of the verbs in here, and I do want us to review them just a little bit. So because we're starting to accumulate vocabulary, I'm also going to occasionally start reviewing some vocabulary. So some of the verbs, iro, we can actually all say that together with me now. Iro.
Iro.
We're gonna have the delay again. So maybe just give me like the you can whisper it or something. I'm gonna trust that maybe you're meditating on the vocabulary as we're going through this or something. Iro, I take up and away. Angelo, I announce or I report. And apokteno, I kill or put to death. You'll remember. Apostello, I send out. Sparrow, I sow or I plant. And then some of the nouns too. And to this list, I'll add it's actually, I don't think it's part of your vocabulary, but spermos, which is like a seed that you can see is related to sparrow, or sperma, which would be seeds. Glossa, language or tongue. Grape, writing or scripture. You can sort of just kind of give just do the video as I've heard said in the past. Otherwise, I'll just get you all on the delay. Litos, stone. Naos, temple or sanctuary. Parabole, parable. Sophia, wisdom. All right, and remember to regularly go through your vocabulary lists so that you're doing review, because we've now gone through 12 chapters of this, right, from the first quarter until now. I don't think this is extensive. I may have left one or two of the vocabulary items off this, but again, now we're also multiplying the numbers of forms. So I want to do a little bit of review with some of the more important second aorist forms. Blepo in the present tense in the second aorist is aedon. So I see, I saw. Lego becomes eapon. I say, I said. Estheo, I eat, becomes ephagon. I ate. Erchomai, I go or come, becomes eoton. I went or I came. And I'll just mention that there's a few spelling variations. So for instance, eoton can sometimes become eoton with an alpha instead of an omega. So as with everything, look for general patterns, and normally there'll be enough to give you the sense to be able to break it down and to do the parsing. Pero, I bear, becomes enenkon. I bore. And let's see, we have a few others here. This is worth noting, and this is actually true for the second aorist, and we're going to see this with liquids today as we get into it. Oftentimes, doubled consonants, geminate of lambda, become compressed and become a single lambda, and that's what we see here. Ballo, the second aorist passive, becomes a blatane. A blatane, okay? So I was thrown. A blatane. I was thrown. A few of the other second aorist passives, sunago, I gather, becomes sunectane, I was gathered. Notice that this is a compound verb as well, with soon the preposition linked to ago. I lead, and the resultant meaning is discernible from the constituent part. So if you add those morphemes, soon, with, and ago, lead, lead together is to gather. So I was gathered. Lego, I say. The second aorist is eretain, meaning it was said, right? And actually in the first person, so aorist, passive, first person singular, eretain doesn't really have any coherent meaning. I was said, and we'll see this frequently with the passive for the second aorist. So, but that is the paradigm form. So just be able to recognize that. Eurisco, I find, becomes euretain, I was found. Euretain, I was found. And pero becomes enetain. So I bore, or I bear, becomes I was born. So I was in the sense of being carried or taken up, and someone is carrying you, right? So I was carried, or I was born. All right, so that's just a little bit of review. Remember, again, you need to be looking at these vocabulary items frequently, and that's why I'm just going to ask everybody right now, make sure if you have not done those quizzes, stay up to date on those week to week. It's critical for learning and for retention, not just in this class, but beyond the class.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so to the new material today, we're looking at liquid verbs, which sounds exotic, but it's not really. Liquid verbs are verbs that end with a very specific set of stems: lambda, mu, nu, rho. Remember, rho, the R sound, is spoken sort of like a trill in classical, also in Koine Greek, so it's more re, as you would say that. So if you notice about all of them, what's common to them. So don't even look at the letters, just think of the sounds. So lambda, right? Mu, nu. Notice that they're voiced, but there's also contact made. For instance, with nu, it's made in the front of your mouth, right? See where your tongue goes, nu versus mu. And so it's a voiced sound, but it also includes contact in the mouth. So it's not a pure vowel. These are liquid sounds. The consonants themselves at the end, you can see they all have that's sort of sometimes called a semi-vocalic or semi-vowel, right? Another one here, but this doesn't form a liquid verb, but would be, for instance, the Y sound, yeah. You can see that. It's very similar in terms of the aspect of the articulation. And that might be just helpful, though. Again, you don't need to memorize that, but just helpful as you try to remember what liquid verbs are, and makes it more memorable to kind of stick with you. And so the sigma, which identifies the future in the aorist, typically with liquid verbs, is dropped, right? So menno will become menno, and I'm going to show you how that happens. In the aorist, so that was the future. So menno, and then menno, present tense, becomes emmena in the aorist. Okay, and so we'll look at the next slide at what that is, but just capture that in mind. So you're going to see the circumflex often over the personal ending, and then you're going to see what's called compensatory lengthening here, where notice the stem has the epsilon, but then it's lengthened to the epsilon iota, okay? So let's look at that a little bit more. So menno, okay, why is this a liquid verb? What's the stem? The stem is mu, epsilon nu. What's the last letter in the stem? It is a consonant, and it is one of the liquid consonants, right? Nu. So the epsilon is added, and I think I have some animation of that here. Yes. So the epsilon is added with the sigma. Remember the sigma, the tense formative that we find in the future, and then the first aorist. And what happens is that sigma ends up dropping out because it's what's known as an intervocalic sigma. So if you'll see here, so meno again, the stem, mu, epsilon nu. The personal ending, this happens to be the first person plural, omicron, mu, epsilon nu. Sandwiched between it is a unique tense formative that is not just the sigma, but an additional epsilon. And then the next stage, and so you say, well, how do you end up with the final form here? You'll see here in a second, it looks very different. Well, the first thing is, because this is an intervocalic sigma here, that sigma is going to drop out, and you're left with just the epsilon, omicron, right? Epsilon omicron, okay? And then what happens, and again, you don't need to memorize this, it's just so you can start to make sense of what's actually happening here, and maybe it'll help you remember it. Now, when you have the epsilon and the omicron together, then they merge or shift, and now you have an omicron upsilon, okay? And then that'll take the circumflex, okay? So here you have, if you would think, right, it would be menesomen, right? You know, because here you have a sigma, and hey, it's a liquid, so you have to add an epsilon here underneath it, but no, it actually reduces and shifts and becomes a menuomen, okay? So this is the first person plural of the future of meno, right? Menuomen, okay? So the other thing to note is that sometimes there's not much of a difference. You just really have to look at the accent here, right? So when you see, mene, right? If it's mene with an accent over the epsilon, you know that it's the present active indicative, right? Present active indicative. If you see mene with the diphthong epsilon iota with the circumflex over the last accent, or rather the last syllable there, then you know that it is going to be a future. It's going to be a future. The other thing that'll turn you on to that is this nu, which again, is a liquid, okay? All this just takes practice, so don't try to commit that to memory now, but let's just kind of walk through the liquid futures and their forms and start to take the first steps to commit these to memory, right? So first person singular, menoo. This is the meno, which in the lexical form means I wait. In the first person second person future active indicative would be menes. Third person, mene. So again, the stem ends in the liquid. And with the addition of the tense formative, which is actually an epsilon sigma, there's intervocalic dropping of the sigma. And then you see with the shift in the vowel here, it becomes mene with the circumflex over that last syllable. And again, if the accent had been over the first syllable, the epsilon right here, rather than over the circumflex, then it would have been the present tense, right? Rather than the future. All right. Get somebody trying to get in. I don't even know if you can open that door.
You can, but
Just a moment. We have a visitor.
hello. Okay.
We got separated. And my phone said, I only make her 2 weeks. And I want to get
Okay. Where are you trying to go?
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure it out. You want to come in?
I just got it. So call me.
We're in the middle of class, so just give me a moment. I'm gonna let them know. Hey, We have someone needs a little bit of help here, so sorry about this. We'll be right back with you.
You said it's called Potter Place? I feel like I've heard it.
I know. Okay. You're down South Academy,
Is that a
There's
street
galleries
name
there.
or?
there's Potter Road and Potter Place. It's by the Citadel.
So is that the name of a place or the name of the street? Okay.
But we got up, we were at town, and I know the Winter Road, but I don't know where I'm at on it.
Yeah, you're pretty far west on Uinta right now. So I don't know, I'm not seeing Potter Place. I don't know where it's at. But you're here. So you said it's by the Citadel? I don't actually know what that is. I'm not the best with the town, so. The Citadel Mall. So the Citadel Mall is basically due east of here. Like more 4.5 miles east of here. And you said it's near there. So yeah, you're on the west side of Elijah. And do you have, you said a scooter or something you're on?
Oh, we were on the scooter for now. It's too cold for that, but I mean, I could get. It was just me, but my phone is dead, so I can't even like call her. I can't.
Can't get your friend. What
I
kind of
don't even
phone?
have my colors.
Android? Do you have it? You might be able to charge it. I'm not sure. I got it charged. What's that? Yeah. Okay. You may have it.
I might have a charger. I was gonna see if I have like a no. I don't know if I have a charger, but
Unprepared.
Yeah.
I have like a cord. Well, this is for my computer, so it might work.
Might.
Yeah, let me try it.
And see if it plugs in with this.
Yeah.
They don't, oh, no, all over the houses and it's like any people,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I know it's like, to knock on somebody's door, but.
Yeah.
Plug in here, that's it.
Yeah, there's one here in the corner.
And I know there was like a couple other churches over there, but they were all blacked
Yeah.
out, so I seen the lights, I was like, maybe
Usually,
someone will be
yeah.
here.
When
I figured there's somewhere.
tonight we happen to have a class given, so this will charge it.
Yeah, it's like a
Take-
fast charger, so it
Yeah.
should charge
Just
a
give
little
it a
bit.
couple minutes.
Would you like to have a seat? And feel free. I'll close
We don't
this.
need the door open. I just didn't want to close on you, so. What you need?
Anticipate being out past
Yeah. Hey,
daylight, Lauren.
Lauren, good to meet you. I'm the associate pastor here. and This is Ben.
Hi.
He's he's
I'm
been
not.
for it.
Yeah, we're hanging out over here.
Yeah.
And back to the party.
Yeah, no problem. Do you mind if we resume our class and then maybe in a little bit when your phone charges in, we'll let you just take it to call or whatever you like.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Defrost.
All right.
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay. We're actually in the middle of like a Greek class, so it's
So if we say funny words,
you'll be like wondering what we're doing here.
because we're studying the language the Bible was written in, so.
Okay. Hey, Tommy, you still with us? Tommy and Chris?
He went away for a while.
Okay. Okay. So I think we're just going to go ahead and resume then. And looks like, yeah. We'll go ahead and get started here too. All right. So we were talking about the liquid futures. So first person plural menuimen, then the second person plural meneate. So you can see again that there is the compensatory lengthening, the epsilon, and then the iota, and then the circumflex over that accent. And then menuising. Okay, so that's the third person plural. And Praise, do you need to flag Tommy, or is he coming back in a moment?
He said he would come back in a moment,
Okay.
probably in the bathroom.
All right. Sounds good. So let's just go ahead. We can actually just let's just go through that paradigm one more time then. So again, we're looking at liquid futures. This is the first person singular. It's the the future, because it is a liquid, is going to be different from the typical formation with the sigma, the way it's going to show. So first person singular, meno. Second person singular, menes. Third person singular, mene. And then Ben, take us through the liquid futures, beginning with the first person plural.
So the liquid future for first person plural, menumen.
Menuimen. Mm-hmm.
The second person plural would be meneatai.
Meneata. Uh-huh.
And third person plural, menausin.
Menuisin.
Menausin.
Or just menuisin. Would be good, yeah. And then Praise, why don't you take us through this paradigm for the liquid futures here with meno, starting just the singular forms, first person, second person, third person, and give us the translation as well. And Praise, if you're there. Oh yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Liquid features, singular, first person, meno.
Sorry, I didn't do that to you on purpose. Go ahead.
Second person, menes. Third person, mene.
Okay, and translations?
What's the translation of this?
So first person singular, meno.
Here. What's the translation of this one?
So first of all, then maybe give me the lexical form. Do you know the lexical form? So the lexical form will be meno, and it means I wait. I wait.
Okay.
So then this the first person then active future with the liquid meno. So first person singular then will be I will wait. Yeah, very good.
Okay.
All right, and then second person singular.
You'll wait.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Say again.
Second person singular, menes is you will wait.
That's right.
And third person singular, mene is he or she or it will wait.
That's right. Good. And Ben, why don't you do the same thing? Kind of give us the translations for the plural forms: first person, second person, third person.
Yeah, so first person plural would be menaumen.
Menuimen.
Which would be we will wait. Second person plural meneatai.
Meneate.
You all will wait. And then third person plural menuisin.
Menuisin. Good.
And that one would be they will wait.
They will wait. All right. Very good. And then what is the lexical form, Ben?
Meno.
Okay. And what is the typical English gloss for meadow?
I wait.
I wait. Okay, good. All right. So I think what we'll do is we'll just keep rolling here a little bit, and then Tommy will just kind of join in and maybe can rewind the tape a little bit if needed. So a few things to say about liquid futures. Most of them actually do change slightly. So we talked about the compensatory lengthening for the drop sigma. And that's what makes them distinguishable from the present form. If the stem has an iota, it drops out in the future. Okay, and let's see if I do have some examples here. Yeah, so iro, you may remember the lexical form is I raise. Okay, I should say the English gloss is iro, and the lexical form is I raise, and then in the future, because rho is a liquid, then we have rho. Okay. So we go from iro to rho. Okay. So notice again, the iota drops, but you still have these two constituent letters here that are part of the stem. And then agero, which is I raise, then becomes egero. Okay, so the epsilon iota, you see the iota drops here in the future, and you see that the circumflex is again over that last syllable, so egero. All right. So I was mentioning earlier that if you have a doubled consonant and it's a lambda, then you see one drops out in the future. So when you have a liquid, so apangelo, then in the future becomes apangelo, right? Apangelo. So you can see that the lambda drops, and you have only one lambda there. But again, you will notice this, right? Like if you have this form committed to memory, apangelo, right? I announce, then it's easy to see the change in this particular instance because all you have here is just one less lamb, right? And likewise, again, when we looked at those stems that have the iota, you can see that there's correspondence here. And so if you have agero memorized, then it's not going to be hard to see the future here, agero, right? Yeah. So there we go. All right. And then here's the third example in our list here, which is ballo, which you'll remember means I throw or I cast. And with the reduction of the lamb, then we have this future liquid, which is ballo. So that's the first person. So ballo. All right. So those are liquid futures. Now let's talk a little bit about liquid aorist. So with liquid aorist, the sigma drops in the main vowel in the verb, then lengthens. So we saw that earlier with meno and emmena. So let's look at this again. The compensatory lengthening here, this is the same vowel the same verb that we're looking at, meno. So that is the lexical form, right? First person active indicative, present active indicative, first person singular. And then we have the aorist. So future active indicative, which would be emmena. Future active indicative, emmena. So we have the addition there of the iota. So in the future, remember we're looking at the future, you have the iota drop,
Yeah.
and then in the aorist, you actually have the stem change in the reverse direction here, where there's lengthening, compensatory lengthening. Okay. All right. So liquid aorist, then we'll go through this and again, just get some practice with this paradigm. So meno is the paradigm verb for liquids. We looked at the future now for the aorist. Okay. So for the first person singular, right? First person singular, we have emmena. Second person singular, emmenas. Third person singular, emmenen. Again, with the movable nu. So you may see it with the epsilon, you may see it with the nu. All right. All right, so aorist active indicative, this happens to be a liquid aorist. Aorist active indicative, first person plural, emmenemen. Emmenemen. Second person plural, emmenete. Third person plural, emmenon. All right, and then let's see, do we have Tommy back with us? Not yet. I'm not trying to slow down, but I'm giving you a little bit of extra practice.
He just
So-
sent me a text, Dr. Beth, that he's crashing.
Oh, he's crashing. Okay.
Yes.
Understood.
He
Understandable.
just want the recording.
Yeah, understood.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so let's go back here. All right. So then you can just kind of give me the just the video again. So first person singular, emmena. First person, or excuse me, second person singular, emmenas. Aorist active indicative, third person of meno, emmenen. First person plural, emmenemen. Aorist active indicative, second person plural, emmenete. And third person plural, emmenon. Emmenon. Okay. So when you have an aorist form of the liquid, it does drop that sigma, but you still have the augment in the connecting vowel. Okay. Now, if the stem has two lambdas, then the first one becomes an iota. So this I know can appear confusing, but actually it just hang with me, and I think you'll see that it's pretty straightforward to distinguish between all these forms. Apangelo then becomes apengela. And notice here, let's go back here. So notice here that you see that the augment has combined with the alpha here, right? So alpha then plus the epsilon has left us with eta, right? So that's your clue, is that there is lengthening here, which says, okay, there must have been an augment. You know that when there's compound verbs like apa, right? So up here, right here, there's actually crasis. The preposition is apo, right? So you drop the O, which is the Omicron O sound, and it's apangelo. So when you know that there's a compound here, so this started as a preposition, right? And this was the original root, the original stem. And then here now we know that this vowel is going to combine with the epsilon. We have the eta. Now that tells us, right? That tells us that we are dealing with an aorist, right? Now you're going to look at the rest of this, apengela, and you're like, oh, okay, what's going on here? Oh, there's an iota. Where'd the lambda go? Oh, okay, it's a liquid aorist, right? So remember, you're going to come back here and say, oh, it ends in a lambda. And it ends in a lambda, and therefore you are going to see that first lambda then shifts, right? And it becomes an iota. All right. But you know that this is an aorist because here you have the augment, right? And that augment again adds together alpha plus epsilon becomes an eta. And because you can look at the personal ending, right? The personal ending. So remember in the paradigm form luo, this would be elusa, right? Aorist, active indicative, first person singular, elusa. And so you have the alpha. You have the alpha personal ending there. All right. So even though these, they're very similar sorts of endings, it's with some practice, you'll be able to distinguish them. There's another example, apostello. And by the way, I should probably gloss these as we're going along just to reinforce your memory. So apangelo means to announce. You remember, I announce. And then apostello, stello means to place. Apo, and you can see here because there's not a vowel, but rather a consonant here at the beginning of the stem. Then there's no crasis, so that's still apo, not apa. So apostello, stello means to place, apo means away or from, and the resultant form here of this compound actually does mean to send away, to place away. And so apostello then, when you form the liquid aorist here, it becomes apestela. So here you see the epsilon, that's the augment, right? Everybody remembers the augment by now. And we see here that you can see the correspondence. Maybe you don't even remember the exact rule. You don't have to. You just have to know here that this form stello in its lexical form means to I place. And then here that's first lambda is replaced by an iota. Okay. All right. Now, if the stem has an iota, sometimes it is dropped, right? So iro, okay, becomes aira. So remember, this is different from the future. So pop quiz, you remember we're actually looking at the aorist here, but can anyone remember the future? Iro in the future became rho, right? So it dropped the iota, and then you put the circumflex over the omega, and that would make the future rho. Now, if you have an aorist, iro then becomes aira, right? And the way you know that this is the aorist is that alpha then combines with the augment, the epsilon, and you're left here with the shift in the combination to an eta. And notice also, as we saw earlier with aorist, that when you have aorist formation that involves the combination of vowels, that you have a smooth breathing mark and a circumflex. Smooth breathing mark and a circumflex. That's your sign of the aorist, right? Okay. Practice is key with this. All right. And again, we said, some of these forms are not, sometimes they can be difficult if you're not fully aware of the formation or the conjugation to be able to pick apart. But once you have some practice with it, then you'll be able to recognize them on sight. So, here we have an imperfect, right? So remember that the imperfect similarly has the augment. The stem stays the same. So remember the lexical form here is meno, right? So there's no change here. It's not emmena with an iota here, which would say aorist, right? And it's not meno with a omega and a circumflex, or in this case, this is the third person, so it would be epsilon iota with a circumflex, right? The stem stays the same. There's an augment right there. What does that tell us? Imperfect, right? So that will help you to distinguish. And then, here I did actually have here the third person, aorist active indicative from meno, which is emmenen. So again, we have the compensatory lengthening. Compensatory lengthening is the epsilon here, takes on the additional vowel mating here of the iota, and you have emmeinen. Okay. So, again, you're seeing many similar forms. There's only so much we can do in the class really to simplify this. But with these liquid verbs, let's just walk through the liquid verbs one more time. I don't know if we'll go through all of them. Let's just do at least a few examples, right? So we'll start with iro, which we saw. Then the future is aro, and the aorist is eira. Okay, now how does that happen? So here you can see the iota drops out of the future. Remember that there was the addition of that epsilon sigma, special tense formative for liquid verbs, but then there's the intervocalic dropping of the sigma, and then you're left with the vowels which merge and lengthen. Now it becomes an omega here, and then a circumflex, right? So this is actually the result of a vowel combination. That's why the accent moves over the personal ending. Okay, don't need to know that, just need to be able to recognize it. And then apangello in the future then, remember what's going on here? The lambda drops, right? So apangello. And that's why it's important to differentiate the pronunciations. Remember, we took some pains to do that beginning in the first quarter. Apangello, right? We want to pronounce, it's not apangelo, it's apangello. Apangello, right? So you're voicing the double consonant there, because in the future, this was actually pronounced differently, and it would have to be pronounced differently, right? Otherwise, how would you know if you're a Greek speaker, right? So apangelo versus apangello, right? See that? Apangelo. All right. And then the aorist, apengela. So what's going on with the aorist again? One more time. Here we have the augment, right? The epsilon is combining with the alpha, and it turns into the, right, yeah, it shifts to the eta. And then what's going on with the stem, Ben?
You're adding the iota or the other lambda.
That's right. That's right. So we have compensatory lengthening, and that means since we see the alpha right here, it's got to be an aorist. We see the augment right here. Yep. Okay, there's a stem change, aorist. Yeah. All right. Let's do a couple more. So you may remember apoktano, which is I kill, right? And then in the future, because this new is a liquid, and that's the last letter in the stem, right? So now we know it's apoktano, right? Because the iota drops out, the accent moves over the last syllable and becomes a circumflex. All right, so apoktano becomes apoktano. And then in the aorist, then this is actually an interesting one for us to look at, because you may remember, I think we mentioned this, sometimes when the augment is added, it does not lengthen. So you can hear you have an alpha, and there was an epsilon that was added, but notice it did not lengthen and become an eta. Do you see that?
Is that a contract verb?
No, it's just an idiosyncrasy of different verbs. And sometimes there are some verbs that don't want to lengthen that initial vowel. Yeah. And I'm not sure the exact reason. There may not even be a purely logical explanation or a rationale behind it that we can decipher, or maybe there are some linguistic rules.
Because it's adding the epsilon in the middle for the aorist, right?
Oh, yes. My apologies. You're correct. Absolutely correct. Okay. So I was just I had read that too quickly. Yes. So of course you're 100% correct. Thank you for correcting that. So here we have it is a compound verb, right? So we have apo plus kateno. Yes. Well, I'm glad you're paying attention and catching some of my mistakes, because that's exactly right. Now, the part of the reason I got confused here is kateno also has that meaning, at least in classical. I can't remember in the Koine, but it also has the meaning of to kill, right? Apokteno, I believe, then has an intensifying meaning, or it may have a very similar meaning. But you're completely correct. Thank you for calling that out. No, this is it is the augment right here, the epsilon here, between the prepositional component of the compound verb and the original verb stem right here. And then the alpha is the personal ending. Yeah. However, what I did say is true. It just doesn't apply to this case.
Sure.
Because this is actually a compound verb, not a, yeah. And I just looked over it too quickly. Now, that's kind of part of the issue is that once you get outside of the Greek class and all you're doing is reading Greek, the meaning just comes to your mind right away, and sometimes you forget what the roots actually were, and that's what happened to me right here. So, and then I had to remember, the root is actually kateno, not apokateno. Yeah. Okay. And then something similar here with apostello, which we looked at before. So again, we have the lambda drop out in the future. It's apostello. And then in the aorist, we have the augment here, apestela. And we have the lengthening of the iota with the iota here and the epsilon. So that compensatory lengthening. And then, of course, the personal ending right here. Right? Okay. All right. Let's see. Is there any other one that's interesting to do here? Not really. Okay. We already went over them too, all the ones in this list. So let's just move on to the vocabulary items. We have ion, which means it can mean, I think that the most typical meaning is age. Which typically would be translated age in New Testament Greek. Occasionally, the nuance of the word world, this world, the present world, ion, and occasionally it has the sense of fixation or duration, so eternity. So eternity, age, or world. We get the English word eon from that word, and then aner, which means man or husband. We're going to look at this class 3, I believe it is, of these nouns next week. So oftentimes you'll see the lexical form here like this, and then the formation of I believe it's the genitive is how you will find it in the lexicon, right? So don't worry about that right now. We'll go over that next week. Just look at the gloss for right now. And then once we go over that, then we can talk about it. But man or husband, aner. Archiereus, which is the high priest. And that's a combination form. So hiereus means priest. And then this alpha rho, he here has the sense of chief or first, or in the sense a high priest, right? Basileus, which I feel like we saw that. Didn't we see that in the vocabulary? I'm pretty sure we did, but here it is again. Basileus. Yes. And then pater, father or ancestor. So lots of English words that have that combining form. So patrimony, patristics, patriarch, paternal.
So we just steal our words from other languages.
Yeah. Une, which means woman or wife. Mater, which is mother. We get the English word matrix. It's a mathematical concept, and the word matriarch. And then pistis, which is faith or trust. I feel like we might have seen this already, but if not, here it is.
I think so.
I think so. And I think they're just gathered here because you're going to see this as just a different, inflected form. And so, that's what we're going to look at next week with class 3 nouns. Okay. And then sarx, flesh or body, mortal nature. Charis, which is grace or thanks. So very frequent in the New Testament as a greeting as well. And ethnos, so nation or people, and in some contexts in the plural it can mean Gentiles. So we get the English word ethnic.
The nation.
And onoma, which is name. So anonymous, pseudonym. Let's see if I can think of others. Those are the only two that come to mind. And then pneuma, spirit, whether it's a capital S, a lower case S, meaning the sense of a spirit, or wind.
Pneumatic tools.
Pneumatic, yeah, that's right. We get the word pneumatic. Pneumatology, which is actually kind of the study of the Holy Spirit. And then soma, which is the body. Okay. All right. So any questions right now?
Does liquids, do they mess much with other verb forms? Like we looked at aorist, we looked at future, and a little bit of the imperfect, right? But are there any other?
Well, with the imperfect,
I can't remember.
remember, like with the imperfect, like it doesn't actually change. You do see, well, it doesn't change the liquid form of it, doesn't change the ending. It does. You do have that compensatory lengthening where you add the iota. There are other changes
That we'll get to.
that we'll get to. Yeah. So when we look at like the subjunctive,
When we get to those.
Yeah.
We'll cover that there.
yes. And also the perfect, we're going to see that. I have to think, is it the subjunct? Yes, you're going to see this. This is a paradigmatic change across all the different conjugations.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think we're going to just wrap it here for today. Remember also, check out Merkel and Plummer, just to remind you, for their videos.
I usually watch theirs before I read the chapter because the chapter makes more sense if I've already watched through his explanation of it.
yeah, if that's easier, do that.
I do
Yeah.
that with each chapter as I'll watch his first and then I'll read through the chapter. I can see how all that fits easier.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay, Praise. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. I have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. I think we all feel like that. So, okay. Yeah. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much, guys. See you
Right.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I was gonna check on your phone, see how it's doing.
Thank you.
Remind me, your name was Lauren or Lori?
Lauren, but
Lauren, okay.
whichever.
Yeah, no.